Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also on BrightShine, right here in the city of Memphis, in the county, Shelby State, Tennessee. Today's date is Sunday afternoon, March the 30th, 2025. Time 1:45 p.m. First, I thank my family, my support for you. Continue to encourage support. I'll continue to keep myself employed in the Memphis tri-state area, continue to further my education, more over college online, continue to pursue my social degree instead of being administrative contract market. Present time, took a break and going to school in the future. I'm going to go back to school, and I'm going to earn my associate degree, well, other degrees. Now, I'm going to start my Facebook Live. Hello, everybody. My name is Eric D. Johnson, also on BrightShine, right here in the city of Memphis, in the county, Shelby State, Tennessee. And today's date is Sunday afternoon, March the 30th, 2025. Time 1:46 p.m. First, I thank my family, my support for you. Continue to support, continue to keep myself employed in the Memphis tri-state area. Continue to further my education, more college line. Continue to pursue my social degree instead of being administrative contract market. Present time, took a break and going to school in the future. I'm gonna go back to school. I'm going to earn my social degree, well, other degrees. Now, let me start today's video by giving a valid explanation for the time me starting my video. We all, shop at Walmart and things of this nature. And, after you shop at Walmart and everything, you have this questionnaire, customers, questionnaire. So it took about 3 hours for me to answer the questions on the customer survey and give feedback in that little box. And so it took about 3 hours to give feedback. The customer survey, and then in addition to the feedback on the customer survey. So valid reason, my bad. I didn't mean to take that long on the customer survey. Wasn't intentional. Okay. Oh boy. Anyway. Oh boy. But today, start my video. I'm thankful. Thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, Son of God, for all the blessings and the guidance He provides myself as well as all of us with. And continue to pray. I want to say that while continue to pray, because natural disasters, and it's a variety of natural forces, forces in nature, rain, heat. Here it is springtime, and getting toward the summertime. The heat, can, like a drought. And it can just be hot, man. People have hate-related illnesses, heat stroke, other illnesses that related to the heat. And we just got out the wintertime. We had various blizzards this year, and everybody don't live in the same location. Seasons are different. It can be the same season, but think about it, in some parts of the world where you having a blizzard in the wintertime. It's like summertime, just like for instance, the continent of Africa, and then you have the Pacific Islands, and you got South America, Central America, the Caribbean. The weather's different. And then, at the same time, hurricanes and tornadoes, earthquakes. We just got one reported. Not saying that earthquakes don't happen, because earthquakes happen more often than we think. They just don't be as severe as the one that just happened recently. Was it Indonesia, Malaysia? Yeah, I know it's been reported, but I know that somewhere, Myanmar, Thailand, and they got a lot, it affected, it don't just, of course, property, gets destroyed, but the number of lives that get lost in an earthquake. Now, if I ain't mistaken, they're saying like over 1,500, lives have been lost. And so continue to pray. And let me say this again. Even though that earthquake happened there, the seismic, seismologists, earthquakes happen all the time, but sometimes the earthquake be so far under the ground, but that don't mean that the earth didn't move. Earthquakes happen all the time. The earth shifting, and all this. And then, when you have an earthquake, it's just like under the water. If it's an earthquake underwater, this is where a lot of tidal waves and things like that happen. Because it was an earthquake under the water, under the ocean. And when it happens, the water, it causes a problem, tidal waves and things of that. So let's continue to pray about natural disasters, floods, and it can be all, continue to pray about these natural disasters, and continue to pray about wars that are being fought all over this earth, on this planet, that there be peace. Continue to pray. And I'm thankful, that I'm alive today, do my video and everything, talking about wars and things, and we've been talking about pagan and all this Gnostic, which is pagan, the Hellenized Jews, Hellenized, it's pagan. That's what the Gnostic is a pagan. And pagan is not polytheist. We finna get into it, but make this clear: polytheism and pagan, two different things. It's not the same. Polytheism been around long. That's the reason why we going into the prehistoric religion. It wasn't no pagan, because the hunter-gatherers, all the hunter-gatherers, everybody was a hunter-gatherer, and everybody was a polytheist. And we're going to get back on this agriculture, because there's some things about agriculture that's dealing with polytheism, about in the animals and everything, and about worship. So we're going to get on to it. See, this is the reason why it's so important that we we go over these things, because there's been so many lies being told, and that because of the lies that are being told, people get victimized, men, women, and children. And when we say men, women, and children, the elderly men and women, Then you have men and women, and then you have children, the young adults and things of this nature. And when we say victimized, we talking about being violent. Violent. When you look at history, people were violent. So let's continue to pray. And you know, when we pray, you know, we give thanks to God for his compassion, his grace, his mercy. We need guidance. So, like I said, you know, I'm thankful today to be alive, just, you know, to be able to do my video, you know, and I already know what time it is, so by the time, you know, about an hour and 30 minutes, but still, you know, take that time. You know, I like to always quote the United Negro College Fund because it makes a lot of sense, you know. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I see, and I agree 100%. You know, anytime you have access to information and you don't even take advantage of that information, this first of all, is free. And like the library is open. Information is sitting right there in front of you. It's available. I mean, nobody's stopping you from going to the library. Because I know you're here in the United States of America, the library, now the day being Sunday, taxpayers not going to pay for the library and all this stuff about taxes. So, you know, they is not going to have the library open on no Sunday. They probably going to start closing the library on Saturdays, you know, because all this, you know, protests about taxes. You know, federal, state, and local. You know, but like I said, you know, information is available. But do people take advantage of that information? You know, having access to information? No, they just disregard. But they ain't got the nerve to complain. Somebody, you know, violating their rights. Somebody infringing upon their, you know, their freedoms. You know, but information is, you know, the World Wide Web. And now today, including artificial intelligence, people got access to information and won't even take advantage of it. And I'm going to say this. I'm going to put this in there. Fear. I'm going to say this. Fear. Fear has caused a lot of people and people being afraid to take advantage of information that's available to them. And the reason why I put it out, I thought about the sorority and fraternity, the Sohos and the frat beach. But it came back to my mind, and so I wanted to make sure I put it. People afraid, they have fear. Like somebody got more education than I have, and gonna correct me, and you know, like, oh, shut the hell up. You don't know what the hell you talking about. So I'll say, people are afraid, and people have fear. You understand? That someone might have more education than I have and gonna Don't listen to this stupid mother and that ignorant, blah 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 blah. That's the reason why when I make my video, I wasn't on never. No. Talking about being afraid. Fear. No. The sorority and fraternity. The Soho Freddy. Oh, no. No. Talking about gang and mob. And you got a dictionary sitting right there in front of you. You afraid. You scared. You have fear of the sorority and the fraternity, the Soho and the frat bitch. The word gang, the word mob is in the dictionary. The reason why, no. No. Talking about some black gangster new breed, some gangster disciple. And the word gang in the dictionary, and you afraid, you scared. Eric ain't going, man. Eric don't go, man. Eric do not. No. No. No way. If I get the opportunity to put somebody's ass in the graveyard, no. And the word in the dictionary, you already know what's going to happen to them. Their ass going to the graveyard. I'm telling you. You going to the graveyard. And I'm going to be the one singing. You got to go. Because, man, ain't no way in the world you're going to be walking your ass around and telling me that the word gang in the dictionary. Just read the dictionary. And you talking about a black gangster new breed. Talking about a gangster disciple. And the word gang in the dictionary. No. Man, come on, man. Man, that's too easy. That's too easy. Man, I'm gonna talk about the word mob in the dictionary. Okay. I get it. Yeah, okay. But let's see that way it come down. That way it come out. People be afraid. They be scared. That's one way people are afraid and they scared. Because when it comes to information, somebody with more education, you know what I'm saying? So you don't want to say anything. Well, when you get your utility bill, and you talking about somebody at the utility company that got more education than you, and you gonna sit there and let somebody overcharge you on your utility bill because you are afraid and you scared to go over there to the utility bill company and say, look, y'all need to correct this because you made a mistake. You overcharged me on this bill. Well, ma'am or sir, we didn't overcharge you. Yeah, you did. I know how to read and I know how to count. You overcharged me on my bill. See? Being afraid, being scared. You ain't got no business being afraid and being scared. People do you wrong. People take advantage of you. People violate your rights. People infringe upon your freedoms. But, like I said, hey, I had to remind myself, I know, somebody with more education, that was an example. Like your utility bill, let's just say you on your job. On your job, somebody got more, the human resource, human resource person. You clock in and clocking out. You supposed to be getting so many days on your vacation, your PTO. Somebody got more education than you. You afraid. You scared. To ask, you don't even want to ask. How much money y'all taking out for this plan that y'all got? How much money y'all taking out? My check. For all these benefits I'm supposed to have. Because according to these benefits, they supposed to take this amount. They gave me a list of how much each one of these benefits costs. So, but see, because you're afraid and you scared, somebody got more education than you got. And you ain't going to even say nothing. See, so yeah, I had to remind myself that, yeah, right, people afraid, scared when it comes to information. That's the reason why. Somebody got more education. But goddamn it, I know there are a lot of black women, black men doing civil rights. Didn't know how to read, write, nothing. Could barely talk. But when it came to civil rights, goddamn it, they went out on those streets and marched. They went out on the streets and marched. Put their damn life on the line. Couldn't read, couldn't write, couldn't even speak English or anything else. Barely could pronounce a word. But when it came to civil rights, as well as human rights, they went out on the street and protested. Wasn't afraid, wasn't scared. It wasn't no fear. And that includes human rights. Talking about somebody got more education. Talking about the Ku Klux Klan. Didn't want you to have no education. But they send themselves and they offspring to school. But damn it, there were a lot of black women, African American men, women, and children who went out on the street and marched. Didn't have no education. Stood up for civil rights, human rights. And then, animal rights as well. We got to stand up and stand up for the environment. People got asthma, the lead poisoning, polluting the ground, the air, and the water. People got to go out on the street and protest. Somebody with more education. But that's a serious thing. But like I say, I had to, somebody got more education. Well, yeah, I know. It's a problem. Hey, I know it's a problem. Because, it's a lot of people, PhD, ignorant as a song gun. Flat-foot, ignorant as a song gun. Talking about bigotry, prejudice, and racism. Look at all this Protestant. It's a pagan. Look at all this Protestant. It's a pagan. Been going over. We're gonna get back on. I know today one of them days, but we're gonna get onto this polytheism We've been last week and the week before that we touched on this so-called atheist. What was that? The Indo-European. Hey. Now look here. The Indo-European not the only one in India, because the Dravidians, they not Indo-European. Period. Not Indo-European. Now it's like South India, but the Indo-European, the Indo-Iranians, the Indo-Aryans over in India, northern India, like northwest India, then like Sri Lanka, and if I ain't mistaken, I think that's Dravidians too. Well, I ain't got to guess. That's what Bangladesh and all that region of South Asia and Southeast Asia and all that. Let me see. Now Sri Lanka is they speak Sinhala. Sinhala is Indo-Aryan. Let me see. Okay, let me see here. Now that's what they were saying. Right, okay. Now, like I said, in Sri Lanka, the people that are Tamil, they Dravidian. That's what I was talking about. Now, then, And Dravidians are not Indo-Europeans. And just like over in Bangladesh now, those are Indo-European, bingo language. So like I said, but hey, that's what we got to deal with here. Polytheism. Polytheism is not. Let me turn it around. Pagan is not polytheism. That's some made up junk. Just like Gnostic. See, the Gnostic is pagan. Because that's where it came from. Because the people who were, before they even started talking about Gnostic and Gnosis, you had pagan. You had pagan. And from pagan, you had them Hellenized. And from them Hellenized came Gnostic. The Gnostic, the Hellen, they are pagan. They the same. They the same. The same thing with Protestant. Before the Protestant, you had pagan. They the same. The Protestant and the pagan. The Protestant is pagan. Oh, okay. I thought I had cleared it. Now, want to say this about prehistoric religion. Prehistoric religion is the religious practice of prehistoric cultures. Prehistory, the period before written records, makes up the bulk of human experience. Over 99% of human experience occurred during the Paleolithic period alone. And let me click on that for a reason, because we want to see what the science is trying to say. So when they say prehistory, then they said Paleolithic age. So Paleolithic, 3.3 million or 11,700 years ago, also called the Old Stone Age. Is a period in human prehistory that is distinguished by the original development of stone tools, and which represents almost the entire period of human prehistoric technology. It extends from the earliest known use of stone tools by hominins, put the curse on there. That's a scientific name. And so when they say hominins, form a taxonomic tribe of the subfamily Homininae. They comprise two extant genera, Homo, humans, and Pan. In standard usage, exclude the genus Gorilla, which is grouped separately within the subfamily Homininae. So, all right, 3.3 million years ago, to the end of the Pleistocene. Now we're talking about geography, geological epoch that lasted from 2.58 million to 11,700 years ago, spanning the Earth's most recent period of repeated glaciations, before a change was finally confirmed in 2009 by the International Union of Geological Sciences, the cutoff of the Pleistocene in the preceding, let me click on that. The cutoff of the Pleistocene and the preceding Pliocene. All right, what's Pliocene? It's the epoch in the geological time scale that extends from 5.33 to 2.58 million years ago. It is the second and most recent epoch of the Neogene period in the Cenozoic era. The Pliocene follows the Miocene epoch and is followed by the Pleistocene epoch. And so Pliocene was regarded as being 1.806 million years ago before present. Publications from earlier years may use either definition of the period. The end of the Pleistocene correspond with the end of the last glacial period. And also with the end of the Paleolithic age used in archaeology. The name is a combination of ancient Greek Okay, it's good information. It's good. That's very good information. Because out of all that came Homo sapiens. So let me click back over. All right, the Paleolithic. All right, so we're back on prehistoric religion. So, blah, 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 blah. All right. And let me see. Over 99% of human experience occurred during the Paleolithic period alone. And prehistoric cultures spanned the globe and existed for over 2.5 million years. Their religious practices were many and varied, and the study of them is difficult due to the lack of written records describing the details of their faiths. Now, the cognitive capacity for religion likely first emerged in Homo sapiens, or anatomically modern humans, although some scholars posit the existence of Neanderthal religion and sparse evidence exists for earlier ritual practice. Excluding sparse and controversial evidence in the Middle Paleolithic, 300,000, 50,000 years ago, religion emerged with certainty in the Upper Paleolithic around 50,000 years ago. Upper Paleolithic religion was possibly shamanic, oriented around the phenomenon of special spiritual leaders entering trance status to receive esoteric spiritual knowledge. These practices are extrapolated based on a rich and complex body of art left behind by Paleolithic artists, particularly the elaborate cave art and the enigmatic Venus figurines they produced. Then came the Neolithic Revolution, which established agriculture as the dominant lifestyle. Occurred around 12,000 BC and ushered in the Neolithic. Now let's click on that. The Neolithic or New Stone Age is an archaeological period, the final division of the Stone Age in Europe, Asia, Mesopotamia, and Africa. 10,000 BC to 2000 BC. It saw the Neolithic Revolution, a wide-ranging set of developments that appear to have arisen independently in several parts of the world. This Neolithic package included the introduction of farming, domestication of animals, and change from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to one of settlement. The term Neolithic was coined by Sir John Lubbock in 1865 as a refinement of the three-age system. And the Neolithic began about 12,000 years ago when farming appeared in the Upper Paleolithic Near East and Mesopotamia, and later in other parts of the world. It lasted in the Near East until the transitional period of the Chalcolithic, that's the Copper Age, from about 6,500 years ago, 4,500 BC, marked by the development of metallurgy, leading up to the Bronze Age and Iron Age. And then in other places, the Neolithic followed the Mesolithic, Middle Stone Age, and then lasted until later. In ancient Egypt, the Neolithic lasted until the Proto-Dynastic period, 3,150 BC. In China, it lasted until circa 2000 BC with the use of the pre-Shang Arabic culture. And as it did in Scandinavia. Okay. And they talking about the Neolithic, and when they were talking about this farming uh, around the Levant and things of this nature. So all this about the hunter gatherers is a very serious topic, as well as coming into this agriculture. But when we talk about prehistoric religion, all right, what was that? Okay, we established agriculture. Okay, so the Neolithic Revolution, which established agriculture as the dominant lifestyle, occurred around 12,000 BC and ushered in the Neolithic. Neolithic society grew hierarchical and inegalitarian compared to its Paleolithic forebears, and their religious practice likely changed to suit. Neolithic religion may have become more structural and centralized than in Paleolithic, and possibly engaged in ancestor worship, both of one's individual ancestor and of the ancestors of entire groups, tribes, and settlements. One famous feature of Neolithic religion were the stone circles of the British Isles, of which the best known today is Stonehenge, a particularly well-known area of late Neolithic through Chalcolithic religion is Proto-Indo-European mythology, the religion of the people who first spoke the Proto-Indo-European language, which has been partially reconstructed through shared religious elements between early Indo-European language speakers. So the Chalcolithic, there was an archaeological period characterized by the increasing use of smelted copper. It followed the Neolithic and preceded the Bronze Age that occurred at different periods in different areas, but was absent in some parts of the world, such as Russia, where there was no well-defined copper age between the Stone and Bronze Age. Stone tools were still predominantly used during this period. Okay. So that's what they're talking about, the Chalcolithic. Then you have Bronze Age and Iron Age religions are understood in part through archaeological record, but also more so than Paleolithic and Neolithic through written records. Some societies had writing in these ages and were able to describe those which did not. These eras of prehistoric religion see particular cultural focus today by modern reconstruction, with many pagan faiths today based on the pre-Christian practices of proto-historic Bronze and Iron Age societies. So like I've been telling you, do not let this, what they call it, modern paganism, also known as contemporary paganism and neo-paganism. And then they throw that, what's that, Reconstructionist. That includes that New Age nonsense. So like I said, where we at? All right, so this prehistoric religion. So we want to make sure, we want to have this basis. All right, let me click over here. Now you know we online. First of all, we online, and then we go to Wikipedia to quick reference. Now all we remember: citations, footnotes, /notes, references, and sources. The library. Now, polytheism is the belief in or worship of more than one God. And according to the Oxford Reference, it's not easy to count gods, and so not always obvious whether an apparently polytheistic religion, such as Chinese folk religions, is really so, or whether the apparent different objects of worship are to be thought of as manifestations of a singular divinity. Polytheistic belief is usually assembled into a pantheon of gods and goddesses, along with their own religious sects and rituals. Polytheism is a type of theism. And within theism, it contrasts with monotheism, the belief in a singular God who is in most cases transcendent. In religions that accept polytheism, the different gods and goddesses may be representations of forces of nature or ancestral principles. They can be viewed either as autonomous or as aspects or emanations of a creator deity or transcendental absolute principle, monistic theology, which manifests immanently in nature. Then pantheistic and pantheistic theologies. Polytheists do not always worship all the gods equally. They can be in monolatrous or cathenotheists, specializing in the worship of one particular deity only or at certain times, respectively. All right. And the recognition of the existence of multiple gods and goddesses does not necessarily equate to the worship of all the deities of one or more pantheons. as the believer can either worship them as a whole or concentrate only on a specific group of deities determined by various conditions such as the believer's occupation, tastes, personal experience, family tradition, etc. It's also possible to worship a single deity considered supreme without ruling out the existence of other gods. This religious position has been called henotheism, but some prefer to call it monolatry, although the term henotheism is controversial. It is recognized by scholars that the worship of a single god accompanied by belief in other deities maintains the principle of polytheism. Now, polytheism was, listen, polytheism was the typical form of religion before the development and spread of the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which enforced monotheism. Read it again. Polytheism was the typical form of religion before the development and spread of the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which enforced monotheism. Read it again. Polytheism was the typical form of religion before the development and spread of the Abrahamic religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which enforced monotheism. However, there are still some dualistic aspects, such as Satan, and polytheistic aspects, such as saints. Saint Bridget is in fact Bridget, the main goddess of Celtic Ireland. It is well documented throughout history, from prehistory and the earliest records of ancient Egyptian religion and ancient Mesopotamian religion to the religions prevalent during classical antiquity, such as ancient Greek religion and ancient Roman religion, and in ethnic religions such as Germanic, Slavic, and Baltic paganism, and Native American religions. Notable polytheistic religions practiced today include Taoism, Shaivism, or Chinese folk religion, Shinto, Santeria, most traditional African religions, and various neo-pagan faiths such as Wicca and Hellenism, modern religion. Hinduism, while popularly held as polytheist by many scholars, cannot be exclusively categorized as such, as some Hindus consider themselves to be pantheists, panentheists, henotheists, polymorphists, monotheists, or monists. Hinduism does not have a single book. Hinduism is an umbrella term for a collection of ideologies. They are compatible with Hindu texts, since there exists no consensus of standardization in the faith. Vedanta, the most dominant school of Hinduism, offers a combination of pantheism, panentheism, and polytheism, and holding that Brahman is the sole ultimate reality of the universe. Yet unity with it can be reached by worshiping the innumerable deities that represent the supreme absolute truth. Hindus who practice Bhakti ultimately believe in one God, who is known variously as Paramatman, Parabrahman, Bhagavan, Ishvara, and so on, that transcends all categories, both of form and formless. However, the common people who remain unaware of these concepts worship their deities as ultimate God. Different regions can have their own local deities whose worship is restricted to their region. Brahman is personification of the concept of moksha, and the different gods are passed to moksha or realized in the Brahman. Now, I'm going to read this little terminology, then we're going to get into, all right, the terminology. The term comes from the Greek, poly, many, and theos, God, and was coined by the Jewish writer, Philo of Alexandria, to argue with the Greeks. When Christianity spread throughout Europe and the Mediterranean, non-Christians were called Gentiles, a term originally used by Jews to refer to non-Jews, or pagans, locals. See, that's what non-Christians were called. A term originally used by the Jews to refer to non-Jews, called you a Gentile or what? Pagans, locals, or by the clearly pejorative term idolaters, worshippers of false gods. That's what pagans do. Worshippers of false gods. We just got through talking about polytheism. Polytheism was dominant. So where do you get this pagan from? That's what pagan is. Worshippers of false gods. In modern times, the term polytheism was first revived in French by Jean Bodin in 1580, followed by Samuel Purchas' usage in English in 1614. Now, soft versus hard. A major division in modern polytheistic practices is between so-called soft polytheism and hard polytheism. Soft polytheism is the belief that different gods may either be psychological archetypes, personifications of natural forces, or as being one essential God interpreted through the lenses of different cultures. Odin, Zeus, and Indra all being the same God as interpreted by Germanic, Greek, and Indic peoples respectively, known as omnitheism. In this way, gods may be interchangeable for one another across cultures. Hard polytheism is the belief that gods are distinct, separate, real divine beings, rather than psychological archetypes or personifications of natural forces. Hard polytheists reject the idea that all gods are one essential God, and may also reject the existence of gods outside their own pantheon altogether. Now we're talking about gods and divinities now. The deities of polytheism are often portrayed as complex personages of greater or lesser status, with individual skill, needs, desires, and histories in many ways similar to humans, anthropomorphic in their personality trait, but with additional individual powers, abilities, knowledge, or perceptions. Polytheism cannot be clearly separated from the animist beliefs prevalent in most folk religions. And so read that again. Polytheism cannot be cleanly separated from the animist beliefs prevalent in most folk religions. Read one more time. Polytheism cannot be cleanly separated from the animist beliefs prevalent in most folk religions. The gods of polytheism are in many cases the highest order of a continuum of supernatural beings or spirits, which may include ancestors, demons, weights, In some cases, these spirits are divided into celestial or chthonic classes. And belief in the existence of all things beings, existence of all these beings does not imply that all are worshipped. Then you got types of deities. For example, you got the creator deity, cultural hero, death deity, life, death, rebirth deity, love deity, mother goddess, political deity, sky deity, celestial, solar deity, trickster deity, water deity, lunar deity. Then you have deities of music, arts, science, farming, and other endeavors. Now you got religion and mythology. Now in the classical era, 4th century CE, Neoplatonist Salotius characterized mythology into 5 types. Theological myths that contemplate the essence of the gods, such as Kronos swallowing his children, which Salotius regarded as expressing in allegory the essence of divinity. Number 2, physical, expressing the activities of gods in the world. Number 3, psychological, myths as allegories of the activities of the soul itself, or the soul's acts of thought. Number 4, material, regarding material objects as gods. For example, to call the earth Ga, the ocean Okeanos, or heat typhoon. Number 5, mix. Then you have the beliefs of many historical polytheistic religions are commonly referred to as mythology, though the stories cultures tell about their gods should be distinguished from their worship or religious practice. For instance, deities portrayed in conflict and mythology were often nonetheless worshipped side by side, illustrating the distinction within the religion between belief and practice. And so now, scholars such as Jan Pouvel, J.P. Mallory, and W.Q. Allen have reconstructed aspects of the ancient Proto-Indo-European religion from which the religions of the various Indo-European peoples are thought to derive, which is believed to have been an essentially naturalist, numismatic religion. An example of a religious notion from this shared past is the concept of dais, which is a test in several religious systems of Indo-European speaking people. Yeah. Now, I'm gonna click over. We still on polytheism, but we're gonna go over here to Britannica. There's some. Let me see here. Okay, let me see. Okay. Now, like I said, we want to come to over here to Britannica. There's something that we want to touch on. That was mentioned in polytheism about prehistoric religion and polytheism, which was typical. Polytheistic religion was typical of the people. Now we know that the hunter-gatherer way of life was dominant for a long time. So we over here on Britannica, on polytheism. So it starts out with polytheism, the belief in many gods. Polytheism characterized virtually all religions other than Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, which share a common tradition of monotheism, the belief in one God. Now, sometimes above the many gods, a polytheistic religion will have a supreme creator and focus of devotion, as in certain phases of Hinduism. There is also the tendency to identify the many gods as so many aspects of the supreme being. Sometimes the gods are considered as less important than some higher goal, state, or savior, as in Buddhism. Sometimes one god will prove more dominant than the others, without attaining overall supremacy, as Zeus in Greek religion. Typically, polytheistic cultures include belief in many demonic and ghostly forces in addition to the gods, and some supernatural beings will be malevolent. Even in monotheistic religions, there can be belief in many demons, as in New Testament Christianity. Polytheism can bear various relationships to other beliefs. It can be incompatible with some forms of theism, as in the Semitic religion. It can coexist with theism, as in Vaishnavism. It can exist at a lower level of understanding, ultimately to be transcendent, as in Mahayana Buddhism. And it can exist as a tolerated adjunct to belief in transcendental liberation, as in Theravada Buddhism. Now, so we're going to scroll on. We want to come to forms of polytheistic powers, gods, and demons. Okay, wait a minute. Yeah, we're going to start out. Yeah, forms of polytheistic powers, gods, and demons, natural forces, and objects. A widespread phenomenon in religions is the identification of natural forces and objects as divinities. It is convenient to classify them as celestial, atmospheric, and earthly. This classification itself is explicitly recognized in Vedic religions. Surya, the sun god, is celestial. Indra, associated with storms, rain, and battles, is atmospheric. And Agni, the fire god, operates primarily at the earthly level. Sky gods, however, tend to take on atmospheric roles. Zeus, use of lightning as his thunderbolt. In the earliest cultural levels in which hunting and then pastoralism and agriculture are clearly vital, religion exhibits these identification rights connected with fertility. The sun's vitality is seen in the cyclical effects of causing things to grow and wither. Moreover, because of its dominance of the world, the sun is often seen as all-knowing, and thus sky gods of various cultures tend to be highly powerful and knowledgeable. If also sometimes rather remote, the sky is also often associated with creation. By contrast, the moon is rarely of the same importance, though in Ur, a city of ancient southern Babylonia, the moon god, Sin, was supreme. The role of the sky god in ensuring food and in providing light and warmth over against the chaotic effects of darkness was a theme of various myths of the cosmic drama, and was one main reason for the connection in mythic thought between creation and light. Heavenly divinities have also been influential in the development of astrology, which assigns a special significance to stars and planets. In the Middle East, astrology was important but was weakened by monotheism. And in Indian culture, it came to be deeply woven into the fabric of both Hinduism and Buddhism. Astrology was influential in the Greco-Roman world and in the astro religion attached to Gnosticism, dualistic sects that emphasize salvation through esoteric knowledge. In other cults of the early Christian era, astrology was also elaborated in Central America, for instances in Aztec religion. Gods of the sky became especially powerful when they take on an atmospheric guise. The association of gods such as Zeus and Indra with storm, as well as with fertility, bearing rain, makes their connection with warfare fairly natural. Thus, Indra is the most perfect example of an Indo-European warrior. Many societies, however, have had separate gods of war. The ambivalence of atmospheric deities is paralleled in female counterparts who are both creative and destructive. The combination of sky and earth and the joining of differing cosmic forces are sometimes represented in the Eros Gamos, sacred marriage between Apsu and Tiamat in Mesopotamia, Shiva and Shakti in India, and Gaia and Uranus in Greece. The forces of water and fire are particularly significant in bridging the gap between the earthly and heavenly realms. Fire is manifested not only in the earth, but also in lightning and the sun, and water is sometimes connected with the moon. Thus, earthly fire and water can also be seen at work higher in the cosmos. Important in the development of fertility religion were the dying and rising gods, such as Adonis, Attis, Osiris, and Tammuz. Their cults had a new life in the mystery cults of the Greco-Roman world, where the original agricultural significance of the rites was transformed into more personal and psychological terms. On earth, besides the divine mother out of whose womb plant life has its birth, there are a host of divinities connected with agriculture and pastoral life. In addition, sacred significance is often attached to features of the particular environment in which a given group finds itself. Thus, sacred mountains, such as Olympus in Greece, have their resident deities, and a river, such as the Ganges, the Ganga, may be divinized. Underground rivers have special significance in connecting with the underworld or neither regions, which can be important as the place of repose of the dead, but also as the matrix for the recreation of life. Geographical locations can also have cosmic significance. Delphi, Greece, was known as the navel of the earth. Further, many cultures have gods and goddesses associated with the sea. When it comes to vegetation, in a number of cultures, trees are seen as a primordial form of vegetation and have a symbolic connection both with heaven and earth. Sometimes they are held to contain spirits, as the yakshas of Indian tradition. Particular sorts of trees, such as the ashwatha or piper, sacred fig, are held in special veneration. Among plant deities, however, probably the most important are those connected with cultivated plants, such as corn, maize in Central America, and the vine in the Mediterranean world. Notable is the cult of Dionysus, the ecstatic wine god, who became one of the most influential objects of devotion in the classical period. The vine linked agriculture and ecstasy. The connection between vegetation and dying and rising gods has already been noted. To some extent, such motives were carried over into Christianity in the notion that the cross was the tree, both of death and of new life. One of the most obvious modern survivals in the West of vegetation cults is the use at the winter solstice of mistletoe, symbolizing fertility and continued life. Then you have animal and human forms. Just as plants can be seen as divine forces, so can types or species of animals. For instance, the cult of the snake is widespread and especially important in the Indian tradition. The serpent is vital in the Hebrew Bible, Old Testament story of Adam and Eve, and appears in the Babylonian epic of Gilgamesh as one who knows the secret of rejuvenation. The snake has a fertility aspect because of its possible phallic significance and because it lives and holds in a life-giving earth. The cult of the monkey is important in India, having its essence in the figure of Hanuman, half monkey and half human. It is possible that such theriomorphic cults, in which gods are represented by various animal forms, have been assisted by rituals in which priests wear a mask representing the relevant divinities, a practice that may in turn explain the hybrid half-human form. Examples of the wide variety of animal and living forms in which gods appear include Huitzilopochtli, hummingbird, Aztec, Quetzalcoatl, alligator, Aztec, Vishnu's avatars or incarnations, fish, tortoise, boar, man, lion, Hindu. The rainbow snake, Australian, Aboriginal. Sarunus, stag god with antlers, Celtic religion. Inanda, bull, Hindu, a figure partly in animal guise found in the Chor Pre-Rate cave at Area, France, may represent a complex lord of the beast, analogous to the supposed figure of Shiva, the destroyer and recreator in Hindu mythology, found at sites in the Indus Valley, while a birdman figure in Le Cau, France, may depict a priestly representation of a divine being. Thus, stereomorphism seems to have a very ancient pattern. In brief, various cultures have taken existing species in their environment and woven them into the pantheon, partly because of their essential dependence on the animals and partly for other reasons, such as similarity between animal forms and other sacred forms. Sacred force. The analogy of the lion to the force behind kingship. Because human beings can enter into a living relationship with the supernatural beings that surround and dominate their lives. It has always been natural to model the gods as human beings. Such anthropomorphism is most evident in Greek tradition, in which the Homeric gods are brilliantly and unashamedly human in their passions and thoughts. The human model has been assisted by the representation of the gods in earth. Of gods in art. For a statue is not just a symbolic representation of a god, but often his place of presence and influence. Thus, in a number of cultures, the images are treated as replete with divinity. Just as gods can be human in character, so men can be conceived as divine, either by becoming identified with deities through descent or by displaying appropriate power. Thus, divine kingship was a not uncommon feature of the ancient Middle East. It was also found in the Roman world when the emperors were divinized, and in Japan and China when the emperor was son of heaven. Culture, heroes, and other significant humans could be elevated to semi-divine status or more. Gandhi or other heroes in the Chinese tradition, and Rama and Krishna in India. Strictly the succession of sages known as Buddhas and Tirthankaras in the Buddhist and Jain traditions, respectively, were not conceived as divine but came to be objects of a cult. In the Mahayana, greater vehicle, celestial Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, those vowed to become Buddhas, came to be profoundly important for devotional religion. From a functional point of view, the Mahayana has operated as a polytheistic system, united, however, under an overarching doctrine of emptiness, or the void, according to which all things are said to be empty, of the characteristics assigned to them. The Theravada way of the elders accepted the principle that virtuous followers of the Buddha could be translated in the next life to a heavenly existence, which they would have God-like status and impermanent status. However, for God shared the universal transitoriness of all living beings, but such gods were scarcely the objects of a cult. Then the next one would be functional deities. But we wanted to get, because when we talk about that agriculture, that's what they really didn't go into when they were talking about prehistoric religion. They didn't really go into agriculture. They didn't specifically, but a little specification here over on Britannica when we talk about agriculture. And not just agriculture. Talking about the earth, like when they were talking about objects. The sea, the earth, and the sky. Things that's beyond, like the stars. See, this was polytheism. When they were talking about animism, the anima. And when they were talking about shamanic. Now, shamanism is a spiritual practice that involves a practitioner, shaman, interacting with the spirit world through altered states of consciousness, such as trance. The goal of this is to direct spirits or spiritual energies into the physical world for the purpose of healing, divination, or to aid human beings in some other way. Beliefs and practices characterized as shamanic have attracted the interest of scholars from a variety of disciplines, including anthropologists, archaeologists, historians, religious studies scholars, philosophers, and psychologists. Hundreds of books and academic papers on the subject have been produced, with a peer-reviewed academic journal being devoted to the study of shamanism. Now, when it comes to terminology, the modern English word shamanism derives from the Russian word, same which itself comes from the word from a Tungusic language, possibly from the southwestern dialect of the Evenki, spoken by the Sim Evenki people. Or from the Manchu language. The etymology of the word is sometimes connected to the Tungus root meaning to know. However, finished acknowledges Jehuman questions this connection on linguistic grounds. The possibility cannot be completely rejected, but neither should it be accepted without reservation, since the assumed derivational relationship is phonologically irregular, especially the vowel quantities. Marcia Iliad noted that the Sanskrit word designating a wandering monastic or holy figure has spread to many Central Asian languages along with Buddhism and could be the ultimate origin of the word shaman. The word has been reported in Gandhari, in Tacharian, in Tucharian. The term was adopted by Russian interacting with the indigenous peoples in Siberia. It is found in the memoirs of the exiled Russian churchman Vacuum. It was brought to Western Europe 20 years later by the Dutch statesman Nikolai Wilson, who reported his stay and journeys among the Tungusic and Samoyedic speaking indigenous peoples of Siberia. Okay. And anthropologist and archaeologist Sylvain Tomaskova argued that by the mid-1600s, many Europeans applied the Arabic term Shaitan, meaning devil, to the non-Christian practices and beliefs of indigenous people beyond the Ural Mountains. She suggests that shaman may have introduced various Tungus dialects as a corruption of this term, and then been told to Christian missionaries, explorers, soldiers, and colonial administrators with whom the people had increasing contact for centuries. A female shaman is sometimes called a shamanka, which is not an actual Tungus term, but simply shaman plus the Russian suffix ka for feminine nouns. Now, when it comes to the definition, there is no single agreed upon definition for the word shamanism among anthropologists. Thomas Downson suggests three shared elements of shamanism. Practitioners consistently alter consciousness. The community regards altering consciousness as an important ritual practice, and the knowledge about the practice is controlled. The English historian Ronald Hutton noted that by the dawn of the 21st century, there were four separate definitions of the term which appeared to be in use. Number one, to refer to anybody who contacts a spirit world while in an altered state of consciousness. Number two, those who contact a spirit world while in an altered state of consciousness at the behest of others. Number three, in an attempt to distinguish shamans from other magical religious specialists who are believed to contact spirits such as mediums, witch doctors, spiritual healers, or prophets. This definition suggests that shamans undertake some particular technique not used by the others. However, scholars advocating the third view have failed to agree on what the defining technique should be. Number four, shamanism, referring to the indigenous religions of Siberia and neighboring parts of Asia. According to the Oxford English Dictionary, shaman is someone who is regarded as having access to and influence in the world of benevolent and malevolent spirits, who typically enters into a trance state during a ritual and practices divination and healing. The word shaman probably originated from the Tungusic Evikic language of North Asia. According to Juha Janhunen, the word is attested in all of the Tungusic idioms, such as Nigadal Lemut, and nothing seems to contradict the assumption that the meaning shaman also derived from Proto-Tungusic and may have roots that extend back in time at least 2 millennia. The term was introduced to the West after Russian forces conquered the shamanistic Khanate of Kazan in 1552. The term shamanism was first applied by Western anthropologists as outside observers of the ancient religion of the Turks and Mongols, as well as those of the neighboring Tungusic and Samoyedic speaking peoples. Upon observing more religious traditions around the world, some Western anthropologists began to also use the term in a very broad sense. The term was used to describe unrelated magical religious practitioners found within the ethnic religions of other parts of Asia, Africa, Australasia, and even completely unrelated parts of the Americas, and they believe these practices to be similar to one another. While the term has been incorrectly applied by cultural outsiders to many indigenous spiritual practices, the words shaman and shamanism do not accurately describe the variety and complexity that is indigenous spirituality. Each nation and tribe has its own way of life and uses terms in their own languages. Mircea Eliade writes, a first definition of this complex phenomenon, and perhaps the least hazardous, will be shamanism equals technique of religious ecstasy. Shamanism encompasses the premise that shamans are intermediaries or messengers between the human world and the spirit world. Shamans are said to treat ailments and illnesses by mending the soul, alleviating traumas affecting the soul or spirit, are believed to restore the physical body of the individual to balance and wholeness. Shamans also say that they enter supernatural realms or dimensions to obtain solutions to problems afflicting the community, or visit other worlds or dimensions to bring guidance to misguided souls and to ameliorate illnesses of the human soul caused by foreign elements. Shamans operate primarily within the spiritual world, which they believe in turn affects the human world. The restoration of balance is said to result in the elimination of the ailment. Now, of course, there's criticism of the term shaman, so there's criticism. Now, we're going to scroll down to the history. Shamanism is a system of religious practice. Historically, it's often associated with indigenous and tribal societies and involves belief that shamans with the connection to the other world have the power to heal the sick, communicate with spirits, and escort souls of the dead to the afterlife. The origins of shamanism stem from Mongolia and indigenous peoples of far northern Europe and Siberia. Despite structural implications of colonialism and imperialism, they have limited the ability of indigenous people to practice traditional spiritualities. Many communities are undergoing resurgence through self-determination and the reclamation of dynamic traditions. Other groups have been able to avoid some of these structural impediments by virtue of their isolation. such as the nomadic Tuvan, with an estimated population of 3,000 people surviving from this tribe. Tuve is one of the most isolated Asiatic tribes in Russia, where the art of shamanism has been preserved until today due to its isolated existence, allowing it to be free from the influences of other major religions. Now, the beliefs. There are many variations of shamanism throughout the world, but several common beliefs are shared by all forms of shamanism. Common beliefs identified by Iliad 97 are the following. Spirits exist and they play an important role both in individual lives and in human society. The shaman can communicate with the spirit world. Spirits can be benevolent or malevolent. The shaman can treat sickness caused by malevolent spirits. The shaman can employ trances, inducing techniques to incite visionary ecstasy and go on vision quests. The shaman spirit can lead the body to enter the supernatural world to search for answers. The shaman evokes animal images as spirit guides, omens, and message bearers. The shaman can perform other varied forms of divination, scry, throw bones, and sometimes foretell of future events. Shamanism is based on the premise that the visible world is pervaded by invisible forces or spirits which affect the lives of the living. Although the causes of diseases lie in the spiritual realm, inspired by malicious spirits, both spiritual and physical methods are used to heal. Commonly, a shaman enters the body of the patient to confront the spiritual infirmity and heals by banishing the infectious spirit. Many shamans have expert knowledge of medicinal plants native to their area, and an herbal treatment is often prescribed. In many places, shamans learn directly from the plants, harnessing their effects and healing properties. After obtaining permission from the indwelling or patron spirits, in the Peruvian Amazon basin, shamans and curanderos use medicine songs called icaros to evoke spirits. Before a spirit can be summoned, it must teach the shaman its song. The use of totemic items such as rocks with special powers and an animating spirit is common. Belief in witchcraft and sorcery, known as brujeria in Latin America, exists in many societies. Other societies assert all shamans have the power to both cure and kill. Those with shamanic knowledge usually enjoy great power and prestige in the community, but they may also be regarded suspiciously or fearfully as potentially harmful to others. Alright. Now you got soul and spirit concepts. Soul can generally explain more seemingly unassociated phenomena in shamanism. Healing may be based closely on the soul concept of the belief system of the people served by the shaman and may consist of the supposed retrieving the lost soul of the ill person. Scarcity of hunted game. Scarcity of hunted game can be solved by releasing the soul of the animal from their hidden abodes. Besides that, many taboos may prescribe the behavior of people towards game so that the soul of the animal do not feel angry or hurt, or the pleased soul of the already killed prey can tell the other still living animals that they can allow themselves to be caught and killed. Spirits are invisible entities that only shamans can see. They are seen as persons that can assume a human or animal body. Some animals in their physical forms are also seen as spirits, such as the case of the eagle, snake, jaguar, and rat. Beliefs related to spirits can explain many different phenomena. For example, the importance of storytelling or acting as a singer can be understood better if the whole belief system is examined. A person who can memorize long text or song and play an instrument may be regarded as the beneficiary of contact with the spirits. All right. So on today's video, we went back to prehistoric religion, and we get into this polytheism, and we're going more to the polytheism, beliefs. Went over to Britannica, because when you talk about prehistoric religion, we know about the hunter-gatherers. For a long period of time, hunter-gatherers was the main way of life for everybody. Just any and everybody was a hunter-gatherer. And over a period of time came agriculture. And with agriculture, the polytheistic religion was typical. Any and everybody was a polytheist. Any and everybody, polytheist. And so, and that means that anything they find, the modern scientists today, anthropology, in the behavioral science department, as well as geologists as all the other scientists, when they do their research and everything, they fields of science, and so when it comes to to the agriculture that we were getting at, it's a religion. It related because when the scientists get all this information out of the ground, that's what we was getting at. Is when the scientists do all this research, like in the ground, and the oceanographers deal with the ocean, the waters, and meteorologists deal with the weather, and so on and so forth. When they get all this evidence, and it's old evidence dealing with the people, as well as in how people deal with the religion. You understand? That information is polytheist. All that information is polytheist. If they find some artwork on the wall, it's polytheist. If they find bodies buried in the ground, it's polytheist. When it's talking about us as humans. When it's talking about us as humans, now they find some dead animals, like all this stuff they put in the museum, all the animals and stuff. That's not polytheist. Those are animals. But we talking about when we talk about the humans that be found in the way of life, it's polytheist. The stone, when they talking about the stone tools and during the Paleolithic age, the polytheists. That's what they talking about. If they find some pottery, whatever they find that humans did, It's polytheists. Because you didn't get into no monotheism until the revealed book of Judaism. That's when you start hearing about monotheism. But up until that point, polytheism was typical among any and everybody, was a polytheist. And so that's a good thing for us to do today, because when you talk about this modern pagan, contemporary pagan, and this reconstruction done, like I said, that's not polytheism. That's what we was talking about earlier. About false gods. About false gods. That's what that is. It's false. Polytheists been around years before you talking about some pagan. All that is false. And you can honestly say that. Because think about the period of time, the time that it came around. You've been having people that were polytheists all those years before, prior to. All those years, people were polytheists, all in various regions of the world. Everybody ain't no Indo-European. So when you talk about polytheism is vast and varied. Animism is polytheism. We talking about shaman. The people that's identified, you get all these different people, they not Indo-Europeans in Siberia. These Samoyedic people. You got these people in China, the Han people. But then you got people in Mongolia, the Mongols. You had the people in Manchuria who spoke Tungusic. And then there's all these other various people who were not Indo-European. And then what is this theory? Let's not forget the theory about the first and Native Americans crossing, who came from. It's been theorized that the people came from Asia. The first and Native Americans been theorized as being from Asia. And when came across Asia and crossed the Bering, whatever, that glacier, when they were talking about the glacier and all that, crossed over, all these people now, for a long period of time, left Asia, however they left Asia, crossed over into what Alaska and all that, Canada, started inhabiting Canada as well as North America, as well as the Caribbean, all the way down to Mexico, from Mexico to Central America, then down into South America. That's a theory. Polytheists. So when you say pagan, false god. And like I said, the terminology. When Christianity spread throughout Europe and the Mediterranean, non-Christians were called Gentiles, a term originally used by the Jews to refer to non-Jews. If you weren't a Jew, then the Jews called you what? A Gentile. But the Christians, the Catholics called non-Christians pagans or locals. Or by the clearly pejorative term idolaters, worshippers of false gods. That's what a pagan is. Idolaters. Worshippers of false gods. So modern pagan, neo-pagan, that reconstruction is trying it. No, you ain't gonna never get away with it. You ain't gonna never get away with it. See, when you be around, when the reconstruction be around the modern pagan and the neo-pagan, see, they'll get together and they'll sit around each other with their foolishness. Just like we sitting here talking about geological, we talking about Paleolithic, Neolithic, Chalcolithic. This is what the real reconstructionists are trying to do. They'll try to take the same information that the scientists, after doing all their research, they'll try to claim that they're trying to do what their ancestors did. No, you're not. You just lying. New Age. But we're going to stay on this. We got to come back. We got to come back on this. So I'm going to get ready to end today's video. I got to give me something to eat, man. I got to eat. I got to eat. Okay. But continue to pray. Continue to pray about these natural disasters and just continue to pray. I thank my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, the Son of God, for all the blessings that God provides myself as well as all of us with. Like I said, I'm an aspiring Catholic, so they got a lot of YouTube videos. It's a lot of Catholics in sub-Saharan Africa. A lot of YouTube videos. So a lot of Catholics today. Sometimes people show you these images, like Islam is so prevalent in sub-Saharan, but there are a lot of Catholics. A lot of Catholics. Now first, you got the Oriental Orthodox, you got in Egypt as well as Ethiopia and Eritrea, Catholics. You got the Coptic Church. You got the Eritrean Catholic Church. You got the Ethiopian Catholic Church, as well as all the other Catholics who also are represented in Egypt and Ethiopia and Eritrea, as well as other parts of North Africa, as well as and then when you start talking about sub-Saharan Africa, Oriental Orthodox, as well as Eastern Orthodox, and Roman Catholic church. I think a lot of people in sub-Saharan, Roman Catholic Church is pretty influential in sub-Saharan Africa, not just in Nigeria. It's like, let me go to Nigeria. Number of Catholics. It's a million, hundreds of millions just in Nigeria. Now you got now when it comes to religion, there's a lot of Muslims in Nigeria, and then now when it comes like in Nigeria, for example, you got Islam, which is about 53.5%, and then you got Protestant, 35.3%, Roman Catholic, 10.6%. So you got a lot of Catholics as well as the Protestant. And now we know Protestant is a pagan, false god. Oh yeah, oh yeah. That's all it is. But when you go, all over sub-Saharan Africa, you got Roman Catholic. That's the point. You got all this religion. Now you see Protestant, then Catholic. So when you add it up, if you got, what was it, 40 something? What did it say? Wait a minute, back down here. Oh, okay, here we go. So you add 35, you add the Protestants and the Catholics together. So when you say Christian, so 35.10 plus 10, what? That's what 40 something percent. So that's a lot of people in Nigeria that's Christian, as well as Muslim, And then you go to other countries like Kenya and Tanzania. I mean, it's a lot of people that are Catholic in every country in sub-Saharan Africa. It's growing. It's growing. More and more people are becoming Catholic in sub-Saharan Africa. Well, like I said, I'm an aspiring Catholic. You don't never see me sitting around talking about no Protestant. False gods, idolaters. That's what that is. See, when you deal with this Indo-European, don't you never ever let Martin Luther and the rest of them Indo-European, no, John Wycliffe and all them, no. Because remember, Peter Waldo and the Waldensians, dualistic. See, all this Protestant nonsense, all that was these West Europeans, like the Germans, German speakers, syncretized in the influence of Gnostic. No, no. That's what that Protestant is. Nothing but a pagan. The pagan, the Gnostic is a pagan. Not the other way around. Pagan. No, it's the pagan before Gnostic. The Gnostic came from pagan. Because you know who the Gnostic was? The Jews. Being more specific, the Hellenized Jews. The Hellenized Jews. That's who the Gnostic were. The Hellenized Jews. Who were the Hellenized Jews? Some of them Indo-Europeans who had conquered Egypt were living in Egypt. And they supposedly converted from their pagan religion to Judaism. They syncretized, and also let's not forget the Romans conquered the Greeks and so on and so forth and syncretized their religion. So Greco-Roman religion. So the Hellenized Jews, all they were was just the Greeks, the pagans. They were pagans. They syncretized because they had conquered the Egyptians. So they syncretized as well as eclecticized and then became Gnostic. So don't say that that's the reason why Gnostics, they were the pagans. Because the pagan was a pagan, but the pagans started a new thing called Gnosticism. That's the reason why the Gnostics, they were pagans. Not the other way around. They the same. The Gnostic and the pagan and the Gnostic, it's the same. And that's the same thing as a Protestant. They syncretized. The Protestant, they syncretized. By, what's his name? Martin Luther being German. They took their German culture and syncretized. That's all they were doing, syncretizing. They were pagan. Peter, John Wycliffe, all of them, that's all they were doing, syncretized. They were pagans. That's what they were. They were pagans. So I'm going to get ready to end today's video. We're going to come back. We're going to stay on this. Again, my name is Eric D. Johnson, also known BrightShine. I live right here in the city of Memphis, in the county sheriff. It is in the state of Tennessee. Thank all my family and support for your continued support, continued courage support. See, it's a good thing that I do the things that I'm doing. See, when you stand on the truth, see, it's just like in Chicago. The Vice Lord be walking around. The Black Prince Stone be walking around. The Black Disciple. See, Lord Stone Disciple. See, Evan Pepperlo Perry was real. He was true. That's the reason why. When you lie, just like that punk Larry Hoover and that other stupid dummy Spoony Black, the black gangster new breed. See, when you're a dummy, should have never got away. Should have never got away. And then you look out there in California, some more dummies. Some more illiterate buffoons call themselves the Crips and the Bloods. Illiterate buffoons. See, when you stand on truth, the truth gonna stand. See, that's the reason why I kept saying over and over again. You talk about the folks and the my people. See, this is the reason why I kept telling. I'm just gonna go and say, see, Minister Rico, that's the reason why I told Minister Rico, you ain't have to worry about it. That's the reason why. Them bitches over there on the East Coast, I told you. Time. That's the reason why. Time. You can't get around it now. Now we sitting here talking about polytheism. You can't get around. Everybody is a polytheist. In and everybody, polytheist. You can't get around it. Time. You can't get around it. It ain't nothing you can say or do. You can't get around it. So all that stuff you were trying to get away with them codexes, the Askew Codex, the Berlin Codex, the Askew Codex, the Berlin Codex, plus the Nagamar Library was another, the Berlin Codex, it was another one. The Bruce Codex, the Anskew Codex, the Berlin Codex, and the Bruce Codex, and the Nehemiah Library. It's pagan, idolatry, false gods. See, time. It's all false gods, man. Pagan. You ain't gonna never get nowhere. You can try, like you've been doing, try to be violent, gang, mob. You can try to be violent. But you see what happened when you be violent with them. You see what happened to Elon Musk with the Tesla. See, when you try to be violent with the Gnostic, no, they can be violent. But when it's the other way around, I got to have some kind of way to keep me from getting hurt, keep me from getting killed. But like I said, them codexes, them Gnostic texts, those Gnostic texts, the Anskew Codex, the Berlin Codex, and the Bruce Codex, and the Nehemiah Library. If they find any more, they jump in the ground. It's pagan, idolaters, false gods. That's what Protestant is. Idolaters, false gods. Hey, it ain't no need you trying to argue with nobody. Hey, that's the truth. Because see, when you start talking about this Indo-European mythology, see, this is what you ain't seeing. See, you want to sit around trying to make it sound like, no. This is what Indo-European mythology, these Germans, this is what they were doing. Syncretizing their culture, their customs. Syncretizing. Because the Catholic Church was already in place, so when you talk about the Latins, the Romans were pagans, as well as the Greeks. That's what they tried to do. They tried to martyr. Then Constantine converted. So then it became the official, that became the state of religion. That became the state religion. That became the state religion. That's the reason why Rome was the capital. St. Peter's Basilica. You start seeing the state do all these things for the Catholic Church. The Holy Roman Empire. But when it came down to it, during that period of time, behind the Black Plague, things began to change. But it was already people talking about, need to make some reforms in the church. Excuse me. So, but the Protestants, the Germans, the pagans, the idolaters, the false God worshipers, the Protestants, false God worshipers, the Protestants. That's the reason why. They were syncretized. That's the reason why some weeks ago I started taking all these so-called Protestant principles, exposing the lies, all the contradictions. And I'm still doing it. I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still doing the same thing. Showing that all they were doing was lying. Martin Luther, John Wycliffe, John Calvin, all of them, they were lying. They were pagans. They ain't been more caring nothing about worshiping Jesus. They worshiping their culture, their customs. They were pagans. They weren't worried about no polytheism either. That's all they were trying to do. Lie. And be violent. Hey, that's all they wanted to do. But we're gonna come back on this. Yeah, I'm gonna make it a video 2 hours and 30 minutes. Then I'm gonna give me something to eat. But that's all. Hey, there ain't no need you worried about trying to defend no Protestantism with all that diversity and division. You ain't finna defend nothing because they can't even get their lies straight. And then what were we talking about? I'm talking about the church tradition. And talking about, you reject church tradition. Church tradition is based on the writings of the church fathers. Which one of the church fathers you gonna bring up? Since you I want people to use your common sense. When you hear the Protestants say they reject church tradition, use your common sense. When we was reading all that, it told you what it was talking about. It said the writings of the church fathers. So which one of the church fathers you gonna talk about? Because there's a lot of them. See, your common sense gonna tell you lying. That's how you know they lying. Right there. Even your common sense know. When you said that, you lying. Because it's not just one. What are you talking about? Jesus Christ? In his writings? You talking about the 12 apostles and their writings? See what I'm talking about? You can't even get past that. Which one of the church fathers you gonna be talking about? Because there's a lot of church fathers. You got the ante-Nicene church fathers. You got the Nicene church fathers. Then you got the post-Nicene church fathers. So which one of the church fathers you talking about? You see how this gonna go? Do you see how this gonna go? Talking about you reject church tradition. We ain't even got to the Old Testament. See, this is how you know they lying. This is how you know they lying. Then what was it? Justification and all that other stuff. Look, I'm going to end today's video. You take care of yourself, and I wish each and every one the very best. And continue to pray. Pray.